guys, this is Christy Fulk with Create with Christy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US. Well, I've made my first Slimline card for you and I'm going to show you how to make it here in this video. I really had fun making it and I plan on making some more. And you're probably thinking, oh wait a minute, Slimline card? What about an envelope? Well, I'm going to show you how to make an envelope too. I'm here to help. So, I'm going to be using the products in the Butterfly Brilliance Collection. And I'll hope and show this to you real quick. This is the bundle. This is the star of the show. I love the dies with this. And this is just one big stamp, and you'll see that here in a minute when we start to make the card. And the collection also includes, now this is just a little piece, but this is the Natural Touch specialty paper, and it has a wood grain texture to it. You can actually feel the texture and see it. Pretty cool. And there's also Butterfly Bijou Designer Series paper. Now this is just one of the sheets. All four of these you can purchase in one easy button collection. And if you purchase this collection from me using a host code that I've made for my online class, you can get my online class for free. I'll have a link below in the video description of the online class, and you can click on that and find out all the information there. And there are also two fee-based classes too, options that is. Okay, now if you want to see this DSP, you're like, oh, that's pretty, but what do the other designs look like? Just click on the video link up at the top right corner that's going to pop up, or one down in the video description. And in that video, I show every single design of this paper. Okay, so we'll get these out of the way. I'll go ahead, the only die that we're going to use is going to be this great big one right here. So I'll put that over here. And let's go ahead and make the base of the card. You need a piece of So Saffron. This is 7 inches by 8.5. And you're going to fold it in half. Now you could score it, so you'd have the 7-inch side along the top and score it at 3.5. Or you can just fold it in half, meet those corners, and score it. It might be a little easier to go ahead and score it first. Since it's longer, it's a little harder to get those corners to line up. Okay, so we've got the card base. That's it for the card base. And I'm going to take a piece of mint macaron that's going to go right here, but I thought, okay, that looks so plain, just putting that green piece on there. This is a 3¼ by 8¼ But what I'm going to do, we are going to grab the Butterfly Brilliance stamp. This is the big stamp I was telling you about. I like to use my Stampin' Pierce mat. I'm going to use a piece of grid paper right here. I'm going to lay this down. I'm actually going to start on the bottom. I think that's a little easier. I'm going to ink this whole thing up with my mint macaron ink pad because I just want a nice subtle background to that. And because this is so long, you could emboss it if you wanted to, but all of our folders are too short for this, so you'd have to kind of emboss it and then bring it up and emboss the other section. So I thought, you know what, I think stamping this is going to make it a lot easier, and it's going to make it look like it has some texture. So because this is a big stamp, like I said, having this cushion at the bottom with the Stampin' Pierce mat supports this stamp so much better, and that I get a really good impression. So I'm just pushing this down like so, bring it up. See how good that is? Now if I hadn't had this cushion, I probably wouldn't have gotten that center very well. So I love that Stampin' Pierce mat, and you can purchase that in my online store. It's not in a catalog, but just go to my online store, which there's a link below in the video description, and click and search for Stampin' Pierce mat and you'll find it. Okay, I'm going to bring this down a little bit. And now I'm just going to line, I went ahead and inked up the whole thing because I didn't want to make it to where I just did part of it and then I end up having a white space, well actually green space up here without any stamping. So just kind of put it right above those butterflies. Push it down again. There, now we've got our own designer paper we just made with this beauty. Okay, I'm going to hurry up and clean this off because we're going to need this with the envelope. But I'm only going to be using one butterfly, so I'll show you how to do that. So I get this cleaned up, and too, that'll make it so it's nice and dry too, so I don't have any watermarks from the other butterflies. So make sure you have that good and clean. We'll go ahead and move these out of the way. And then we're going to do another big stamp. Put this over to the side. Actually, we can go ahead and put this on the card base. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, I'm throwing everything around again. Okay, so we'll put some Stampin' Seal on this, and we'll just put it right there in the center of the card. Oops. Every time this sits for a little bit, I always need to wheel it up a little bit to get it started. I think when it sits for a while, it kind of moves a little bit, and then the adhesive's not in the right spot for it to start rolling. Make sure your butterflies are going the right direction. And we'll put this right here in the middle. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to stamp on the card, that is, we're going to do some stamping on the envelope. But I am using a stamp set. Here's another big stamp. This is show you what it looks like a little better. The many messages. And there is a die that die cuts all of these greetings. So I'll show you how to do that here in just a minute. But this is in the January to June mini catalog. Love this. And I'll show you a little trick because we're only going to be using one of them. But I store, like I had some extras here. I'm storing them in a little container right here. So that way when I make another card, I can just grab one and not have to do any more stamping again. So this is a piece of Whisper White. I'm going to use my Stampin' Pierce mat again. I should have just left that out. This is a 5 by 6 1/4 inch piece. And let's go ahead and do it this way again since it's a little long. There we go. That's to make sure I don't have anything hanging over this Pierce mat. And I'm going to use my Tuxedo Black Memento pad. And there's a nice, they put some little shapes on here, and that is going to guide making it easier to line this up with the die, which I think is pretty cool. They really thought things through. Oops, I got a little black on there, so we'll turn this over. Looks like I got a little black on my thumb there. Okay, now you can definitely do this with the Stamparatus. As long as you've got this Stampin' Pierce mat underneath, that supports this big stamp with no problem. Okay, lift it up. There we go. It looks like I had a couple of things that I didn't ink very well. That's okay. So you might want to use your Stamparatus. But I'm not going to worry about it because the one I'm using looks fine. So I'm going to get my die cutting machine out and we'll get to die cutting. Okay, I've got my cut and emboss machine out. The sandwich we need for die cutting is plate number 1. This is the base plate. Then you need the die plate number 2. Put that in. And then you want to grab a cutting plate. Oops, that's my top one. You want to use this one. Okay, I like to use one that doesn't have any cuts on it, so that way I can see what I'm doing a little better, and that makes it so you can see better also. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one first. So we've got that many messages piece out. We're going to grab this big die, and see these shapes I was talking about? They're right here. I am going to use something, and I probably won't use black hearts and black stars, but that is okay. Because as long as you line up those designs, your words are going to be lined up. Isn't that cool? It's a lot less things to look at. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 of them to look at. Let me move it just a little bit. I'm at an angle, and I could tell I was off just a little bit when I moved. There we go. Grab our plate here. I'm going to put the top part down first and then gently bring this down. And hold it down until part of it gets underneath. Now that it's underneath the center section, I can hold on to this because that die's not going to go anywhere. Whoa, I wasn't going to talk because I didn't think you'd be able to hear me. I think because it die cuts so many different pieces, it makes a lot of crunching noises. So don't worry thinking, oh no, I messed it up, because you didn't. Okay, look at all these pieces. See how easy they came out? So I have a ton of greetings that I'm going to put in my little container here. But first off, I'm going to grab the one I'm going to use, which just happened to be the one that was on top. So I'm going to use this one. I'm going to grab my little container here. Get all those in there so I can use those another time. Okay. That'll make my card making a lot faster. Okay, now we're going to die cut some butterflies. And we're going to do it with this paper. I love that Stampin' Up! Thought this through when they did this paper. Oop, I got a piece of paper stuck here. Hold on. There we go. So we'll get our sandwich back together again. I'm going to put this paper right here. And the 6-inch piece just fits in this. And then voila, we're going to put this right on top of these butterflies. They line up perfectly. And I'm going to have 6 butterflies cut out, just running it through once. Okay, and then we're going to grab this again, put it down like I did before, bring it down nice and easy. Okay. Get this through. That one crunches some too, but not as bad as the one with all the messages. See how easy those were? Now, we are going to do something with these little guys, so we're not going to throw this away, so just put that to the side. I'll show you that here in a minute. Now we have all our pretty butterflies. And that is all the die, oh no, I take that back. We are going to do die cutting one more thing. Put this back over. I almost forgot. I'm using another die set. I didn't realize until I got done with all the cards how many die sets I used. But this is from the annual catalog, and a lot of you probably already have it. These are the Tasteful Labels dies. And I'm going to use this one right here. You want to grab that piece of Natural Touch specialty paper. This is 3 by 1.5. Now it is just going to fit. I try not to waste paper. And with it being 3 by 1.5, you can get a bunch of pieces from that one 12 by 12 if you want to mass produce this. And there we've got that. So we've got our nice little wood grain label. Now we're done with the die cutting, so I'll put this machine away and we'll get the rest of the card made. Okay, I want you to grab everything we just die cut, all the butterflies and the 2 labels. And I want you to grab a piece of basic white cardstock. This one is 2 1/4 by 7 1/4. It's kind of narrow. But when I did this card, when I first put the butterflies just on this, it just didn't look right. It needs a little something in the middle. So you'll see why here in a minute. So we're just going to attach that right to the middle. Put some seal across here. You always want to make sure, when it's that narrow, I usually go all the way across the narrow sections. Now I can put this in. I wanted it kind of narrow because I still wanted to see those butterflies that we put on there. But just needed a little separation between these butterflies and this. I thought it might look a little too busy without that. So now we're going to lay these butterflies down. And I decided to put the bigger ones here in the middle, and they're kind of going to go like this. You can have them go over the green, the mint macaron layer, but you don't want them to go past your card base. Guess you can a little bit, but they could get torn up that way. So I know those are going to be in the middle. So let's go ahead, because I can tell my card is not wanting to stay down. I think I'm going to crease that down a little bit again. There we go. Sometimes you need to go one more time to get it to stay down. So I'm going to put some adhesive on here. Now, if you have the seal, there are no worries once you put it down. If you can, if you want to move it within 10 minutes, you still have plenty of time to do that. So I'm not going to fret if I end up wanting to move it around a little bit. So I'm going to have that here close to the middle. And then this green one. And it's going to be okay. Doesn't matter how they overlap here because we're going to be putting our label across there. So I'm going to lay this one over here. So I thought I'd put this edge close to this one and this one over here. Then I'm going to put a green one. I don't know why. I think because this side is green. This side is pink. We're going to put this one over here. And I thought it just looked good having them overlap a little bit. I'm going to bring it back over here. And then we're going to use this little yellow one. Oops. And we'll put it, oh, let's say, here, we won't have him overlap too much. Bring him down a little bit, okay? Then we've got our blue one. So I went from largest, medium size to smallest. You can do whichever way you want. If you want to mix it up a little bit, you go right ahead. And I'm going to put my blue in, and I'm kind of, if you can see, they're kind of going every which way. Like this one's going this way, this one's going this way. They're all kind of going different directions. Because butterflies like to do that. And I decided I wanted these to kind of overlap. I didn't want to cover those the antennas up on the yellow one. So kind of hide those under there. Put that there. And then we've got one last butterfly. And we will put him right here. Okay, so we've got all butterflies on there. That looks good, just like that. Oops, I got out of the screen. Sorry about that. And this is going to go right across here with dimensionals. And this is going to go on like so. But I think it's a little easier to put this on first. So I'm just going to put adhesive along the middle part, not all the way at the ends, because it's going to be hanging over this. And I want to eyeball this. You definitely want it centered up and down. You want to have about the same amount of cardstock hanging over both the left and the right sides to get it even. It looks like I need to move it over just a little bit. So lift this up again. Love having that seal. Okay, I'll get this nice and straight. That didn't look too bad, so that looks pretty good. So we've got that ready to go, and then I want to put this on with dimensionals. So I'm just going to put a nice straight line of these, just 3 of them. That should be plenty. And I'll take off the paper backing. Okay, and I'm going to put it right across these 2 big ones. I want to try to put them kind of in the middle because I still want to see both of those guys with no problem. There we go. So I'm still showing a lot of that yellow and a lot of the green butterfly. Okay, now we've got the card. Looks like it's done. I decided to add a little bow right here. Now if you want it without the bow, go right ahead. It looks fine just like this. But I decided to grab my Flower for Every Season ribbon combo pack, and I'm using the Just Jade gingham ribbon that's in that pack. There are 2 others in it, white and some blue and white baker's twine, I think is the other one. So I'm going to just tie this. If you would rather cut off a piece, about an 8 to 9 inch piece will be good. I'd originally done it with a 6-inch piece, and I had a hard time making that bow. It was just too tiny. But 8 to 9 inch should be good. Okay, just play around with it till you like the way it looks. Get nice and tight. Like I said, I don't want it to be very big. Grab my scissors. And I'm going to have it to be a short tail too, but cut it at an angle, and then I will trim this one so it's the same size, okay? And then we're going to grab glue dots. I'm going to put the glue dot on the back of a knot. Oh, come on. I think I need to cut my paper. Oh, and it looks like I keep getting... See how this is twisting up? Just twist your ribbon a little bit and that'll take care of it. There we go. That's one thing with ribbons. I usually have to play around with them to get them to be completely done. Okay, I'm going to bring it down here. There we go. There's your ribbons. Isn't that, I just think that made it look a lot better having that little ribbon on there. And you might want to have it down a little farther. I'm going to bring it down here. So if you need to put it on the card instead of the label, go right ahead, because that was covering up my congratulations. There we go. Now you can see the whole thing. So I thought that just really topped it off. Okay, you know me, I always have to do an inside. So you need a piece of basic white that's 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. And remember that strip, the leftovers of that paper I told you to hold on to? Well, I'm going to fussy cut some butterflies out of here and put them on my inside. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fussy cut the pink one and the green one here, and then these 2 middle ones over here. So I will cut these out and I'll be right back. Fussy cutted the butterflies I wanted out. So this one was from here. You see the ones that are left over. Now I went ahead with my first card that I made. I went ahead and cut all these out. And if you look real close in my little container, I've even got those little guys in, because who knows, I might want to use those on some projects. So if you want to, you can go ahead and cut the rest of these out and put them in a container too for another card. Or you could even cut out more if you want to put more on the inside of your card. That's fine too. So what I did, I'm going to take my blue one here, and you want to make sure that these, well actually you can just lay these down first. What I did with mine, oops, I need to cut this part a little bit. I forgot about that. That's going to look a little funny, so we'll hurry up and do that. There we go. Now, when you were cutting, if you cut this pink one, on the paper there was like a little antenna showing, but I thought you really don't need that, so he's just going to go on like that. But this one needed the antenna the way he's angled. It would look funny without the antenna. So I'm going to put him down here. And I'm going to put this one. Actually, we're going to switch these, because I think the blue and the green need to be a little farther apart. And then these 2 colors need to be farther apart. So that's what I'm going to do for the inside of my card. So get these all attached. Okay, so there we go. Like I said, if you want to add more, you can. I just still want to have some room to be able to write a greeting inside. So go ahead and put this inside the card. Make sure you get that seal in the corners. A few strips on this long piece. Find my card here. There we go. I'll put this right in here, and we will be done with the card. Okay, so there we go. So there's the card. Hope you liked that one. Now, as I promised, I'm going to be teaching you how to make an envelope. So let me get the stuff I need for that, and we'll make this envelope real quick. It goes super quick. Okay, so I went and got my Simply Scored scoring tool, and you need a 8.5 by 11 inch piece of cardstock, so it's just a full piece of cardstock. So have the 8.5 side along the top. Now you're not going to see all the way to the bottom, but that's okay. You just want to make sure you see the score lines. But I'm going to score at 2.5, which is right here. Go all the way down to the bottom, and 6.5. Oops, and go all the way to the bottom. Then we're going to flip this over so the 11 inch side is on top, and then you're going to score it at 1.5 and at 10 1/4. Okay, so that is all the scoring we need to do. We'll get this out of the way. Now you can see that a little better. And now we're going to do some cutting. Now see these two corners right here? Hopefully you can see those sections. You made two little rectangles in the corners. You need to cut those off. Just cut right along the score line with your paper snips. Okay, get that out of the way. You're going to do it here on the other side. And we're going to do the same thing with the two rectangles that we made up here. Okay, now this is going to be the top flap of the envelope, and I didn't want it to just be sharp corners. Now if you want to keep it that way, that is totally fine, but I'm going to use the detailed trio punch that we have in the annual catalog, and there happens to be one, hopefully you can see that, it's a curve. So this is the corner I want. So we're just going to put this into the guide. There are little guides here, so you get the right side and the top side right in that guide. Punch. So we've got a perfect little curve. We'll do the same thing over here. Make sure both of those corners are in that guide. And it's a lot easier to do this with the punch laying flat, and you just put your whole hand on it. You don't want to punch from the corner, then it's not going to punch. You want to just push the whole thing down. So I've got two perfect curved corners. Okay, now first off, we are going to do a little stamping on this. You want to do, if you want to do any decorating with your envelope, you want to get all the stamping done before you put it together. So this is going to be my bottom corner. I want to put a little butterfly here in the bottom corner, right corner. So I'm going to grab this big one here. If you want to do one butterfly, it is a little easier, I think, to do one of the corner ones. I'm going to grab my mint macaron. Now, if you wanted to use sponge daubers and do another one, you go right ahead. But these are far enough apart, and if you make sure that the edge of the pad that doesn't have much plastic on the top is the one that you see, then you just start putting the ink on. There, they're far enough away. I'm not getting any ink on any of these other butterflies. It's just on the one I'm wanting. So you definitely want to make sure this is all good and dry. And then you can still see, with this being a clear mount, where that butterfly's at. So I'm going to make sure it's above this score line and to the right of this score line. Push it down, and we're only doing one butterfly, so you could still use the Stampin' Pierce mat if you want to, but see, with the one butterfly you really don't need that. So now we've got a pretty little butterfly on our envelope. I thought that really set it off. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and burnish all the score lines. So turn this over. Burnishing is taking your bone folder and making that score line be folded. It helps so much if you do all of your, when you make boxes, envelopes, anything like this, you want to get all of those score lines folded down first before you start putting it together. It goes so much easier. Okay, now that we've got those burnished, you still want to make sure that your front is facing down. You want it facing down, and you can tell that this side is wider, the one on my left is wider than the one on the right. So this is the one I want to put my tear and tape on. So we'll turn that over so I can see what I'm doing a little better. I'm just going to put it right along the outside edge of the wider section. Tear that. And then we're also going to put one right across here, but so this isn't so bulky. It actually looks a little more professional. I don't even want to say professional. It gives it more of a finished look. That's what I want to say. Kind of go in maybe between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch, and then angle your scissors so it ends right in that little corner right there, and cut. And you're going to do the same thing over here, It's okay if they don't match up perfectly. If you're worried about it and you want it to match up perfectly, just take the one that you just got done with and put it on your corner and then line it up that way. But I wasn't worried about that. So we've got those ready to go. And then you're going to put some tear-in tape right along here. Okay, and that's all the tear-in tape you're going to need. Now, one thing I have learned, make sure that you kind of go over it with your bone folder, your tear-in tape, to make sure that you don't have any bubbles, and that way when you start to take the paper backing off, you don't have it, the whole tape coming up on you. Okay, the first thing that we're going to put together are these, like so. And I would go ahead and burnish these one more time because we laid them out flat and they might need a little more help. Okay, and one thing I've learned about taking the paper off of this, I used to pick at it here on the edge and then I end up taking up the tape along with it, and I don't want to do that. So if you come down here a little bit, you can actually get under there, get your piercer all the way through, and that takes that paper off and gets it started for you. And then you can just rip the rest of it off. Makes it so much easier. So we're going to lay this down and lay this down, and that's going to seal that. Okay, then we're going to put this one on. So I'm going to do the same thing. Start down a little bit, get it through, get it started, pull it off. Now put this down. Now it's going to buckle a little bit. Just take your bone folder. There we go. We've got it all ready to go. That is your envelope. Isn't that cool? Let me grab the card. And it goes right inside. Isn't that neat? You gotta love that. So now you know how to make an envelope, and you can also use designer series paper if you don't want to use cardstock. I just thought it would be a little easier to show you how to do it with just one sheet of cardstock. You didn't have to cut it out. But as long as you have an 8.5 by 11 piece of any kind of paper, you can make an envelope. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you live in the United States and do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator of your own, I would love to be yours. I can mail these catalogs out to you if you don't have them already. This is the January to June mini catalog, and this is the annual catalog. And just click that contact me link below and send me your mailing address, and I'll get them mailed out to you right away. Well, I hope you had fun stamping with me today. And if you'd like to stamp with me again, make sure to subscribe to my channel. And when you do, you'll see a little bell pop up. Make sure you click on that bell and select all. That way YouTube will notify you every time I do a video and you won't miss any. And if you would like to support my channel, please comment below or give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. It helps out a lot. See you in the next video. Bye, guys.